2026 marks 10 years of Dem Bois Inc. That's 10 years of community care, 10 years of leadership rooted in love, and 10 years of turning visibility into possibility. And so to honor this milestone, we've launched our 10 for 10 campaign. You're like, Sean, 10 for 10, what's that? So we are inviting you, our listeners, our supporters, our allies, and other folks in the community to give $10 a month to help sustain the care, leadership, and visibility that trans men of color deserve. And so 10 years is a very long time, right? That's a decade. Can you imagine raising a child from birth and then looking at them at their 10th birthday party and being like, wow, you've watched so much of their growth within that 10 years, right? That's the same for us. And so Dem Bois Inc., over the 10 years, we have done a lot. And so we have provided gender affirming surgery grants to trans men of color to obtain gender affirming surgeries. We started this podcast. We are now in season 4 of the podcast in 2026. We created our Visibility Equals Possibility merch. We partnered with Emilio and Zion, both trans men of color, to design what visibility equals possibility means to them. And it's reflected in our merch. We also partnered with the Black trans man, Mola Flow, to create our theme song. And that's the music that you hear every time you tune into Dem Bois Podcast. We've done merch. We've done partnering. We have delivered care packages to trans men of color in need of personal hygiene items within our community. We have done a lot in 10 years. And so imagine what the next 10 years would look like. Donating $10 a month says, I believe in this work. I believe in the future of trans men of color, and I believe in what comes next. And so if this call resonates with you, join us today. And we've even made it easy. You don't even got to go anywhere. Whatever platform you're listening to this episode, go ahead and open up the show notes. And from there, you will be able to click the link to start your contribution to our 10 for 10 campaign. Your monthly support helps ensure Dem Bois can continue showing up for our community with intention, care, and impact. So thank you for listening and thank you for believing in our mission. Okay, and I'm going to get out of here so you can listen to this episode. Take care.
Package program is neat. I'm so glad that there are resources out there for you and me. Real human beings existing in our true identities. Let us breathe. We ain't hurting nobody.
My next guest I had the privilege to sit down with is a married Black trans man carrying his own baby. He is unapologetically Black and trans. He has been medically transitioning for 9 years before deciding to carry his baby and grow his family. He believes in the equality and serving the most vulnerable and marginalized of the population. And so within this episode, we talked a lot about family, romance, conceiving as a trans man. We dipped a little bit into politics and the state of the world and how it's historically impacting us as queer and trans folks. This is a really great episode. Hope that you enjoy.
Dem Bois, yeah. Dem Bois, amplifying trans men of color voices. Yeah, we here making noise, yeah. Making noise, yeah. Visibility equals possibility. You know we them boys, yeah. Dem Bois, yeah. Amplifying trans men of color voices. Yeah, we here making noise, yeah. Making noise, yeah.
Welcome to Dem Bois Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Aaron, he, him, his. My next guest is a married Black trans man carrying his own baby. He is unapologetically Black and trans. He bases his work on serving the most vulnerable and marginalized communities. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself for folks who don't know who you are?
I'm Keo, he, him pronouns. Yes, I'm a married Black trans man, currently 27 weeks pregnant. I have a dog and 3 cats. They are my first baby, so of course I have to introduce them too. I do a lot of advocacy work, and professionally, I have done a lot of advocacy work, and I do a lot of my work focusing on Black people, on trans people, but really worldwide, there's no stop to where my spectrum ends. As far as advocacy work, I enjoy serving the most vulnerable of our population.
Yes, beautiful. And so where are you located, Keo?
I'm in Colorado.
In Colorado. Nice. So you're going soon to have a house full of folks. So
Yeah.
children, pets, all of the things running around and pulling for all of your time. One thing about cats though, they don't really require much time. They just want to be fed, clean their little litter box, and leave them the hell alone. They're going about the day. That's one thing I like about cats. They're very, very independent. But
Pretty much.
children are definitely a different beast. And so so happy for you in this journey. I really want to get into conversating about that a lot within this episode. We've had trans men on the show who have birthed children, but I haven't, this is the first, someone that is actively pregnant while we're recording an episode, which is amazing. So I want to say congratulations to you. That's amazing.
Thank
and
you.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so you're located in Colorado. And so I'm a little bit south from you. I'm in California. And so I love to ask my guests, how did that name Keo, how did that name choose you?
Wow. So this was maybe 11 years ago. No. Okay, no. I'm not that old. Maybe like 9 years ago. Okay, not much of a difference. About 9 years ago, I was debating legally changing my name, and I was playing around with a few ideas. I think I was a junior in college. I was playing around with a few ideas, and nothing really stuck. I wanted to keep my initials KC. My brother and I are 11 months apart. We're Irish twins, and we share the same initials. Obviously, besides our last name now. So I wanted to keep K and C. K for my first name, C for my middle name. And I was playing around with just different names that just didn't go. It didn't roll off the tongue. And someone had said on Twitter, I had put a poll out on Twitter when Twitter was still Twitter. And someone had suggested Keo, and I was like, this okay, I like this. Like, what does it mean? And it's Hebrew, and it means God will increase. And so I was like, okay, I love this. I like it. Where are we going with it? What's the middle name? And this was also on Twitter. And so my middle name is Chad with 2 A's, and it means warrior in an African dialect. So God will increase the warrior. That's my name.
Whoa, that's beautiful. And picked from Twitter unknowingly to the folks that's helping you, pick this name, right? And for you to piece it together in that way, that is beautiful. I love that. And so did the name, the way it's spelled, the way you chose the spelling, was that the way that it was suggested to you, or did you change the spelling?
Yeah, so Keo spelled this way and Chad spelled this way as well.
Keo Chad. I love that. That is a beautiful name. I love that.
Thank
that is
you.
Amazing. Yeah. And this is another first. I can't think of a time that I can remember that someone put out a poll for their name. So that's definitely different. And I love, right, with our identities, we have the ability to go in whichever direction we choose, right? However we want to do it, whether I know folks have said, the folks have said they've gone through naming ceremonies with their chosen family and friends. Mm-hmm. Now I can say I know somebody that did a poll, and that's just beautiful, right? That we have that control of who we are and how we choose to select our names and how that name chose you. Because I believe it, even though other folks gave you names in the poll, that name chose you, right? It was given. I feel like it was gifted to that person on their mind to say, hey, this is a name for this person. And then it was your choice to say, that's it, right? And to look it up and to know, man, everything about it. I love it. It's beautiful. I love it.
What's community for?
Right. Use community for what they are for. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I want to ask you another question too, because you said in your bio that you are unapologetically Black and trans, which I love, by the way. And today I did before meeting you this morning, I helped somebody with their dissertation. They're from Ivy League school, and they were interviewing trans men. And they're doing a study on the economic effects of transitioning. And so one of the questions that was asked of me, I thought was a really great question I want to ask you. How do you feel as a Black trans man? However that rings to you, how do you feel? I answered it as how I feel as a Black man. I did it in both ways. How I feel as a Black trans man and how I feel as being seen as a Black man, right? And being socialized as female at birth. That wasn't something that was privy to me, right? I had to learn it as I went along, right? And so now that meaning of being a Black man means something different to me as opposed to seeing other Black men, right? Whether it's been my brothers or people in my family, to being a Black trans man, right? Because I can't take away that experience, and neither do I want to, as though some folks do live stealth, but that's not my choice, right? And so how does it feel for you? What does it mean for you to be a Black trans man?
For me, it's about power. Like I feel very empowered to be a Black man, to be a Black trans man specifically, like to be able to make this life for myself, to make this body work for me, as a trans person it's powerful. And to be Black, like I have always been raised to be proud to be Black, to be, encouraged to be Black in all of its forms. And that didn't change. That has never changed. And coming out as trans, I feel even more of a need to be Blacker than Black. There are so many trans spaces that are very white. And like, there are so many spaces that are trying to take Black people out of it. And so for me to be in whatever position I'm in, whether it's through social media or it doesn't matter, whatever position I'm in, you're going to know that I'm a Black man, that I am a Black trans man, and I'm very proud to be that because I see so much power in that.
Power. I love that. To be settled in oneself brings power, right? There is power in being Black, right? And that's why they try to minimize Blackness, trying to erase Blackness, things right. that Black folks have contributed to, right? Because they know that there is power in it. And when you know your own power, what can come from that, right? And that's why they're attempting to suppress it, but they can't suppress it, right? And so we are here.
And that's why I'm just going to be me even more.
Right, exactly. I love that. And unapologetically Black. What does that phrase mean to you? When people say that, we hear that, right? That people say it all the time, unapologetically this, unapologetically that. But what does it mean for you to be unapologetically Black?
For me, it just means that I'm not going to shrink myself in any way, shape, or form for you to feel comfortable about my Blackness. I'm going to give you me how you see it. This is it. I'm not going to try to change or can deconstruct myself into something less, to make anybody feel comfortable. This is the Black man that you get.
This is what you get. That sounds like an old uncle, old grandpa of like, this is what you get. You know what I mean? I love that. And so when was it for you that you kind of had a sense of who you are? And I'm talking about reflecting on gender, right? And transitioning. And so when was that moment for you, wherever you want to start from in your journey?
I think I knew I wasn't assigned female at birth. I wasn't AFAB. I wasn't. Around like 5. Honestly, truly. Like I said, my brother and I are Irish twins, and he is a cis man, and I didn't like put it together that we were different for a very long time. And so I would like try on ties with him and like, wear his clothes. And that didn't stop even after my parents discouraged it and like tried to beat it out of me. So that continued through my childhood, my adolescence. But I think I really like settled into like, okay, I'm trans. Like I'm a trans man and I want to start medically transitioning, not just socially transitioning. Because so in high school, I identified as non-binary. That wasn't a term when I was in high school. I think I used like gender bender, something. And I used they them pronouns. I did not like she her pronouns. It never sat well with me, she her pronouns. It never felt good. And even like being like a masculine lesbian, that didn't feel good either. Um, so I used they them pronouns. That was all throughout high school, and then it wasn't until I got to college that I was like, okay, I need my outside to match my inside, and that's when I wanted to start medically transitioning. But I think I've always known that I was not cheer. Obviously, yes, I am assigned female at birth, but I did not feel it never sat well with me ever. I have two brothers and two sisters, so I'm in the middle. So I can see, I have both spectrums, and it never felt like I was on the girl spectrum. Regardless of the things I like to do, I was a cheerleader, I was a dancer, and even still, like those are my passions, yes, but that didn't define my gender.
I love that. And that didn't define your gender. And so anyone could be a cheerleader, right? And it has nothing to do with, right? And people are cheerleaders, both genders, right? And so
right.
I want to ask you, and so when you came to this, you say you were 5. And so you said your parents tried to beat that idea out of you, right? And so, but then we get to an age where you can't whip me no more, right?
Right.
And you either gonna take what I'm telling you or not. And so when you went back to your I wanted to go back to your parents first. When you went back and told your parents, how did they receive you in that moment?
This was in high school. I had like my brother's cargo shorts on, white t-shirt, my Jordans, they were pink, but they were Jordans. The Nike half calf socks. My dad was like, do you want to be a boy? I was like, maybe. And he's like, you're not. You will never be. And I was like, okay, just moving on about my day. But so fast forward to college, when I was going to start hormones. I didn't tell my mom. She found out through some web of social media. She's not even on social media. I don't know. But like mothers, they know everything, especially Black moms. And she called me crying. And I was like, what's going on? Like, who's dead? She's like, you can't start hormones. It's okay if you want to try, if you want to wear boys' clothes. Like, I don't care. Just please don't start. I'm like, this is who I am. There's nothing about me that's going to change in this regard. So I'm going to keep myself alive by starting hormones, because throughout my entire childhood, I was very, very depressed because of gender, and because of how I was being perceived. And I just had to explain to her that this is something that's going to help me, not anybody else, maybe not anybody else, but it's going to help me feel like me. And she didn't talk to me for like 2 years. Like she like cut me off.
Cold turkey?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
It wasn't until I was like a senior, and I was maybe like right about to graduate, that she kind of reached out. I think I was leaving the country for a month or something, and she had reached out to my father. Had told her. My father's reaction when I was in high school was like, well, like he has come a long way. He came a long way at this time, and he was just like, what makes you feel like you're a man? Like what makes? And I just had to break it down for him, and he still didn't understand. He still misgendered me. He still, and he still has slip ups to this day. But he understands now that I am a trans man. And this is who I am as a person, and it's not going to change. And he sees a lot of power in that as well. He's always like, you need to start your own nonprofit for just trans men, just Black trans men. I'm like, what do you know about that? So my father has come a long way. My mom still has a long way to go. But she was the biggest, like, you can't do this, don't do this, like, I forbid you. And I'm just like, it's already done. Like, the appointment's tomorrow. Yeah, my parents, they're very, well, my mother is very traditional Black Baptist Christian.
Say less.
Yeah.
I know exactly that type. And my mom and my grandmother, the exact same thing, right?
Hey, this is Jackal from Stealth, a Transmasculine podcast. Join me and my co-host Kai as we interviewed transmasculine elders about their experience growing into their authentic selves. The term stealth highlights two important facts. That one, for our generation, we were often told to hide our past and live an underground existence. And that due to that, our stories are very often overlooked. Throughout our lives, each of us has had to navigate issues of disclosure, which have impacted us in many ways. We also have a members section where you'll get to hear some amazing transmasculine history from Black jazz musicians to Mexican revolutionaries. We hope you join us for season 5 as we continue to emphasize that transmasculine folk have always been here and that we will continue to be here. Be sure to check out our website, transmasculinepodcast.com.
And so how did your siblings react to you?
So my siblings, they are probably my best friends. So they knew that I was queer. Like, I've always been queer. Like, I came out the womb queer. And so when I told them that I was starting hormones, this is probably a few days before my parents found out, or I told my parents. My brother was like, I just want to say, this is you coming out like 3 times now. Are you done? And I was like, maybe. I don't know. But like, I never felt the need to come out with my siblings. I never felt the need to say, hey, this is who I am. They always just acknowledged it and we moved on. My brothers, so I have one younger, one older, and they have always let me use their clothes. Like, anything that doesn't fit, they're like, here, take this. Anything, like, even I would go to school dressed one way, they would help me change in the bathroom, like, okay, you put this with this looks good, wear this, like, and they never had any issues that felt weird, like, especially my brothers. Like, Black men, you think cis Black men and you think like toxic masculinity. My brothers never had that around me. They never felt like, oh, you can't do this because you were born this way. They never felt that way. So it was very easy. It's always been very easy to just be myself with my siblings.
That's beautiful. And that's how sibling relationships should be. And it doesn't always happen, but that's how it should be, right? And just to think, parents think that this comes from nowhere. This does not come from nowhere. You just ignored the signs. You just ignored the messaging and the times I've told you and the times you whooped me because you didn't want to hear it. No, I have always been this way, right? And just to wear your brother's clothing, I know your parents saw you wearing your brother's clothes, right? And so it's like, because your dad asked, right? Where is this coming from? How do you feel? And so it's like just listening to your child. That's the first thing, right? And knowing that this is what your child is saying. And I always say this of like how people allow their children to dictate what they want to eat for dinner or what they want to wear to school, right? But you won't listen to your child when they're telling you their inner feelings and how and who they are. That's mind-boggling to me. That's the most thing that you need to listen to. I don't care if you don't want crust on your sandwich, but I wanted to know, what type of person are you on the inside, right? We want to listen to that, right? Because if you realize as your child is growing up that your child, I don't know, they say the signs of a murderer, right? If your child killing animals or acting weird at school or behaving certain types of ways, right? You'll be like, oh my God, what type of person is he going to grow up to be or she's going to grow up to be, right? But then the moment your child telling you, you ain't got to do the damn work. Your child is telling you who they are and you still don't want to listen. Yeah. That's so crazy to me. So now though, how is your mom? Is she okay now?
She's something. I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. She still doesn't gender me correctly unless she's talking to someone who only knows Keo. Which, like, sure, I'll take it, but come on.
Yeah, if you can do it, then you can just do it.
You can do it. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's for me, like, for people to know me, like my grandparents, they're old. They're grandparents, great grandparents at this point. they did not miss a beat. Like Keo, he, him. Even now, me being pregnant, Keo, he, him. Keo's giving birth to his baby like soon. And I'm just like, why can't my mother get it?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about it? And I know that she is still misgendering me and dead naming me. It's just like, we don't talk that often, especially since I got pregnant. I don't know why she feels weird about it, but she does. So we don't really speak about it at all, about the pregnancy or about like my gender at all. But I mean, she's better than what she used to be, I guess. She's my mother. I mean, that's not an excuse at all. Like, I don't hold on to family relationships just because they're family. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Absolutely.
But she tries, and I try to take her trying in strides. So
I just would hearing you speak about it. It's just the idea to me is that, and grieving is a process, right? And sometimes we have to grieve the living. And so that means grieving whatever you thought, this idea that you thought that your child was going to be or become, right? And you have to grieve that part, because at the end of the day, I feel as a parent, and you're soon to be a parent. Is this your first child, correct?
Yes.
Soon to be a parent, and I have been a parent. And so I ain't gonna even lie to you. It's hard to be a parent. And you have all these dreams and aspirations for your child. But your job as a parent is to raise that individual to be great. And then everything else is their decision to be or make or whatever choice to make, whether it's career, if they ever want to get married, if they ever want to have children, if they ever want to have a pet, if they ever want to drive a car, right? All of these things. And I'm just saying that, right? Because my son was 21 before he drove. I was like, damn it, don't you want to drive? Right? But that just wasn't a desire of his, right? So I had to lose this idea. My son didn't go to college. I had all these things of what I thought that my child was going to do. But at the end of the day, I know that we did a great job raising him to be a great person, right? And his job to do whatever else after that, because I know I did what I was supposed to do, that's on him. And I just have to love him right where he is, right? And so I think that's what parents have to do, is kind of like grieve what we thought of what our child was going to be, because that ain't what they are, right? You did your part of raising them. They survived. They're now an adult. You went to college, all of these things, right? So it's like, making sure your child stay alive, that's the most important part, right? Especially as a Black child. That's the most important part, yes. Right? And so now your child is there, and now allow your child to live their life, because there are individuals outside of you. And so I think that's a good thing to segue to of being a parent, because you are soon to be. I won't say soon to be. You are a parent. You are a parent right now. You are carrying a child. So you are actively a parent. And so you're married. You're going to be giving birth to a child. How does that feel for you?
It's wild. Like, if you were to tell 5-year-old me, like, this is going to be my life, I'd be like, okay, sure. Even if you would have told 20-year-old me I would carry a baby, I'd be like, no. But just to be here, to have the support of my husband, to be able to carry our child, it's really beautiful. I love being pregnant. And I'm sure like people are like, that's crazy, that's weird to say that, especially as a trans man. But it's not. Like, this is my body. This is my body. And this is something my body is able to do. And it's something that I'm going to do with my body. So to me, it's not a gendered experience at all. I have the parts, they work. This is what it's doing. That's really how I feel about it. But to be here in my life, 29 now, married, we've been married it'll be 6 years next year, early next year. We've been together for like 10 years. And just to be here in our lives, to be able to bring a child into this wild world, it's a really beautiful experience.
Yes, this wild world, this climate that we are in. And I definitely want to talk about that a little bit. But recently I saw a post, and this is not my feelings. So I want to say, I don't want people to think this is me. I am happy for you, right? Congratulations. Like me, I always had a sense of who I was. But I always knew I didn't ever want to carry a child. In reality, I never wanted children at all. Because for one, I never wanted to grow up to be the type of parent that my mother was. And so that was a fear of mine. I don't want to be this angry parent that my mom was. And so I was like, I don't want to pass that on to my children. And for some reason, I feel like as a child, I was like, I ain't healed yet. I don't know why I didn't think I was healed. Right? I ain't did my work yet to be a better person, to be not like my mom. So I know I didn't want to have children. And so I recently saw a video on Instagram, a Black trans man to be specific. And he was stating his disgust. I'm going to say disgust because that's how he portrayed it on trans men who give birth. He said, why would you want to go through all that? We don't want to see that shit, is what he was saying on Instagram. We don't want to see it. Don't force it on us. Why would you transition to do this and that? He just had this whole list of things of what he was going through that he was disgusted by. And so how do you combat that negativity, especially within our own community of people trying to police your body and police what you do? How do you combat those types of things in communication from people?
A lot of that is from people who are unhealed. But also like they have a lot of self-hate because those are the exact things that people told us as newly trans people. These are the exact things that we hear. Nobody wants to see that. This isn't why do this if you're this. It doesn't make sense to me to spew that hate back at somebody that you once heard that hurt you. But I don't, for like people who think that way, that's fine. Obviously, so I try, and a lot of what I post, a lot of what I do, I try to mitigate those reactions, not the reactions, but the comments, because there are lots of younger trans people who follow me. I get messages literally every day, like, I'm 16, I'm 17, I want to start T so bad. I was just worried about not being able to carry a kid. I want kids. I don't want kids, but I still want to start T. And like, so just to have those, like, have that kind of audience, I feel that responsibility to kind of like just minimize it as much as possible. I can take the heat. I can. But when I was 16, 17, when I was younger, I couldn't have. And that was what took a toll on my mental health. And so I just try to not, I wouldn't say educate, but I try to speak back to those people, like, in what world is it okay for you to demean someone else for what they are doing with their life and their body? When if it was the opposite way, you would not want that. And that's just, let's just putting it plainly. It's hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes. I understand that. But to be someone of a marginalized identity and then to further try to marginalize someone, it doesn't make sense. Baby, it don't make sense.
It does not.
And so it's hard for me not to get angry. Like, why are you doing this? Like, where is it coming from? But a lot of it is also toxic masculinity. Like, you feel like you have to be this macho man. You have to do everything and anything to make other people see that you are a man. But if that's who you are, that's who you are. You know, like, nothing is going to change that. And it's just, again, like, it's very hard for me to wrap my mind around the idea of someone being hurt by these words and then you using them to hurt someone else.
Yeah, and I would invite people to dig a little deeper. Just like you said, these are hurt people. I would invite people to dig a little deeper of where is that coming from? Who first told you that, right? I remember when I first transitioned, there was an older Black trans man that I was hanging around with at the time. And thank goodness I had enough sense, right? But some of the things that he said did stick with me for a long time. I had to work through. But one of the things he told me was, as a Black man, you can't be around children. What? That's ridiculous. Yeah. You cannot
I'm
be around
sorry.
children. Yeah, he said people will think you want to do something to their children, or you can't. He was also one of those type of men who don't believe that trans men should have kids, and so I was like, oh my god, I love kids, other people kids, right? But I was like, I can't be around kids, like that really broke me down. I'm like, wait, if he said it, he's older than me, this must be the experience, so it's got to be true. I really had to work through that in therapy, right? And so I think about that, of like people thinking of like inviting people to think of what really hurt you in that moment, and where are you having this idea from, right? And who gives you the permission to project that onto somebody else's life, right? Even if, if that's just like telling somebody don't smoke cigarettes or don't drink alcohol. You can't tell me what the fuck to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do,
Right.
because it's my body, and if I want to put nicotine in my body, I'm gonna put nicotine in my body. No, it's not the same thing as carrying another human being, right? But it's the same thing. It's like, you don't have the right to tell me what to do with my body, just like I don't have a right to tell you what to do with yours. And I also think, and I love that you kind of not censor yourself, but you are thinking about younger folks that are looking at you, right? And
Always.
and I always say visibility equals possibility, and it's giving folks that visibility to know what's possible in their own lives in the future, right? So they don't have to pick and choose. Even though you're 16 and you probably with your parents, you can have an idea of who you want to be later in life once you transition, right? And you don't have to have that limitations on your life. And just think, I've mentioned this before, of how if I didn't subject to myself to some of that toxic masculinity, even as I was coming up as a lesbian, of what a masculine person can and cannot do, where would I have been? Maybe I would have invited my own self to think about children, right? And so, but because I've heard some of those things, and then I built my life around not doing some of the things that could have been made possible for me. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. So from whatever platform that you're listening to this week's episode on, please be sure to give us 5 stars. And if there's something within this episode, whether it's the guest or something that I said, or maybe the guest said that resonated with you, be sure to go and leave us a comment on this episode, or leave us a comment on the show. So what happens is, if you feel like it resonated with you, I'm sure there's someone out there who hasn't even heard about Dem Bois Podcast. It may resonate with them, and actually it could save someone's life. To hear these stories, right? Because we believe that visibility equals possibility, but there isn't any possibility if we aren't visible. So if you go and leave comments, the more comments you leave, the more 5-star ratings you leave, then this podcast will be available to more folks to see. And so we want to be visible. We want to be out there. We want folks to know that we're here and that our stories are out there for them to listen to. And so if you could do me a favor, please go ahead and rate the show or leave a comment. Until next time, see you on the next episode. And so bringing a child into this world is some tough work, right? In the climate that we are in, I want to ask you about a little bit about politics in the state of the world right now, especially as bringing a child here, and also as a Black trans man. You want to speak more on that?
With the state of the world, I am honestly terrified. Like you said, being a parent is hard. It's scary. I'm scared as fuck. But just like, I can't help but think of the possibilities of my child. Like, no expectations whatsoever, but the possibilities of who she could be, what she could do, like, just like, and how that will change me as a parent, as a person, like, and who everybody else around her, who else it will change, to be able to be raised in the way that we are going to raise her in this Black trans radical household. And to put that out into the world, a little piece of me, I'm not saying she's going to be a reflection, but a little piece of me and my husband, out into the world to change something, to do something. I went to Spelman College. It's an all women's HBCU, choice to change the world. My mom's always saying that. And this is my choice. This is my choice. This little being that I am about to put out into the world is my choice, is how I'm choosing to change the world. I'm not going to allow society, politics, I'm not going to allow anyone in the White House to scare me into not doing what I want to do. I'm not going to allow them to take away my want, my fulfillment of being a parent. I'm not going to allow anybody to take that away from me, because that's my joy. And I'm very serious about my joy. Like I said, being pregnant has been a really beautiful experience, and I can't imagine giving this experience to someone else, as in like having a surrogate carrying my child. I can't even imagine that. I'm not going to allow that fear of carrying as a trans man in today's world take that away from me. And so to be Black and to be trans and to live in the society that we live in, it's scary. I'm not saying that it's not. It's terrifying. And to be a masculine person, to be a trans man visibly pregnant, I haven't had any issues in real life. Obviously, people online can yap all they want, but you're not gonna say it to my face. But as far as like how I feel about being Black and trans, again, it's powerful. I have never felt more powerful than being pregnant as a Black trans man, to be able to be in this body, to have this experience, to be able to carry, like how many men can say that they carried a child? You know, like to be able to be myself in all of its forms. In every way that my body can do things, I'm going to allow it to do things. Now, as soon as this baby is out, we're going back on T immediately. But but I have no regrets. I have no second thoughts. I have no qualms about carrying and birthing in this world, because like I said, I'm not going to let anybody take my joy away.
I love that. Why would you let somebody take your joy when you bring it in, like they say, a literal bundle of joy, right? So why would you listen? Yeah. And so your power is in everything. Your power is in the change of everything that you're doing. Being a Black trans man is in your power, right? Is you're changing the world in that way, right? Being trans, being Black, giving birth, bringing a child into the world, being college educated, like all of these little tidbits are contributing to the world in a way, right? And not wanting somebody to change it, that's powerful, right? Letting anybody change it, let anybody tell you what the fuck you can do with your own life is powerful. And I want to ask you, just mentioned something, and I've always wanted to know this question myself. And so you said once you give birth, you're going to go back on T. Is there a reason, a medical reason, I'm sure there is, right, of why folks, once they want to give birth, have to get off of T?
Yes. So before trying to get pregnant or being on T, you don't get a cycle. And a cycle is what produces the eggs, is how you ovulate. Now, some people, they do still ovulate while on T. They can still get pregnant while on T. And some people have. But for me, I just wanted to just go, just get through the process. And so I went off testosterone I think I was off testosterone for maybe like 10 months before I started the testing, because we went through a clinic. And so they have to do all the testing beforehand. So I was off testosterone for about 9-10 months. It was a miserable 9-10 months. I'm not going to lie. Like it's a lot. And I didn't have a cycle for like 9 years. So it was a lot to readjust to, but I wanted to give my body that time to readjust to not being on T, to give myself, my husband and I, our best chances of getting pregnant. So medically you should stop hormones in order to get your cycle, in order to ovulate, in order to get pregnant.
And so once you're pregnant, you still have to stay off T. Is there a reason behind that?
So I haven't read the study on it, but there are studies that say that if you continue to hormones can be harmful for the baby. So there are some people who continue hormones because they don't know they're pregnant, because they didn't have a cycle, they didn't know they ovulated. but it can be harmful to the baby. Again, this isn't something I've delved into because I stopped before trying to get pregnant. But it can be harmful to the baby, and it could essentially cause a miscarriage, in terms of like where you are in your pregnancy. Um, it's testosterone. You need estrogen. You need progesterone. You need all of the things to carry. And this is what they test for. Because I worked with a clinic, they tested for estrogen, or estradiol, and progesterone to make sure that I had high enough levels to be able to carry a pregnancy. Now, testosterone, it tanks both of those hormones.
Oh, thank you for that information. That's very vital. I didn't know. I personally didn't know that, and I'm sure someone listening didn't know that as well, and so that was helpful. Thank you. And let's talk about romance a little bit, because you mentioned it a few times, husband. Let's talk about this husband of yours. And so, one of the things I want to kind of touch on is like one of the stereotypes of what they say, oh, if you transition, you'll never find love. I don't know if you heard that in your beginning phases. But to know that, no, you can be a trans man, a Black trans man, and still find love, still have someone that's going to love you, still can get married, still can have a family, right? And so when you want to talk about this husband of yours and love and how you came to this point in your romance where you're ready to continue on with the family.
So I met my husband on Twitter. Again, Twitter.
Twitter is coming to save the day. Yes.
I met him, on Twitter, when I was in college. And I fell in love with him right away. He is also a Black trans man, and it was just kind of like, I don't know. He had posted a picture of himself on Twitter, and I was like, okay. And I said something, and he said something, and we just going back and forth on Twitter, and we moved to the DMs. And it was kind of just like, that was it. So it turns out that I'm from Jersey. He's from Jersey. He was living in Jersey at this time. I'm in Atlanta. And I'm like, you know what? I gotta drive up to Jersey to renew my license or something. So like, let's meet. And we did. And honestly, the rest is really history. So his mother lives where I grew up. We were both born in the same hospital, a year and a half apart. We never knew each other, never met, but somehow we are intrinsically connected. And it kind of just felt meant to be. So my husband, he didn't want kids when we met. And I'm just like, well, that's a deal breaker because I want at least one. And it was something that not that we had to work through, but something that we talked through. And we kind of got on the same page of, okay, one kid. And this was early on because like I said, I'm gonna give you all of me. You're gonna take it all, unapologetically. And that was something that we had settled on, but we did talk about when the time comes, whenever it comes, we're gonna have a surrogate. Obviously that didn't happen. But that was something that we had agreed on. That was something that we had talked about, and how we were able to move forward in our relationship. And he has been like the best support that I could ever have, ever. When I had absolutely no one, my mother stopped talking to me, I had him. When my dad was being a weirdo about trans stuff, I had him. And it was just easy for me to just be all of myself with him. And a lot of it is because we had so many commonalities growing up in New Jersey, growing up with these Black mothers. My mother didn't start off as a single mom, but she ended up being a single mom. And his mother is also a single mom. So we have so many things in common, siblings and so many things. And it was easy for me to just melt into him because of the way that he supported me, because of how he saw me. And there are a lot of things that are different. Like I said, he does not want to carry kids. he never wanted to carry kids. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. And I never like, he never thought I was crazy for wanting to carry kids. The only thing that he felt he was hesitant on was the mortality rate of Black people who give birth. And that's still something that's on his mind. But again, like, he loves me so much that this is something that he researches like every day, even before I got pregnant, just making sure that we have all of the resources that we need to make sure that I have a safe pregnancy and a safe delivery. And it's just like everything that he is shows me every day that I deserve to be here and I deserve to be loved.
It sounds so beautiful. So beautiful. I love that for y'all.
Hey y'all, Pink Lady here. I am the producer for Dem Bois Podcast, and I am so excited to tell you about my production company, Pink Lady Productions. We collaborate with creatives like you who are driven to share your message by launching your podcast from A to Z and coaching you through the process. To learn more about our services, check out our website at pinkladyprod.com. That's PINKLADYPROD.com.
So how the hell did you get from Jersey, Atlanta to now Colorado? How did that happen?
So I was born and raised in Jersey. I went to school and went to college in Atlanta. So that was 4 years of my life. He moved down there with me in that last year, and then I got a job in DC. So we moved to DC. That was like 2 years that we lived in DC, and then the pandemic had started. Everything went remote, and we were like, "Let's move to Colorado." So we did.
I love that. Do you love it there?
I do. I love it so much. I love it so much. I can't imagine being anywhere else, honestly. Like like I said, we've lived in a bunch of other places, but Colorado it's our home.
Nice. And so you're used to the cold weather there then?
It's not that cold. It's not that cold. East Coast got a lot of snow recently. Where we live, it's not that cold. Let me say that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we also live on the sunny side of the street. If you live in Colorado, you know the sun. You want to be on the sunny side street. The other side, that's a whole different. That's a whole different planet. Okay, that's Pluto over there. So yeah, we live on the sunny side of the street, so the snow melts the same day that it comes.
Okay, nice. Okay, because I couldn't do the cold, I couldn't do the snow. I'm from the Bay Area, so that I don't know what that is.
Okay,
I don't even own a coat.
Yeah.
Okay, the only thing I have is hoodies. It should not get no colder than that. If it's colder than that, I don't want no parts of it, and I probably ain't gonna go outside. So, and I don't like the cold at all. I go to bed with my heater on 80 degrees because I want.
Oh no, not 80.
Yes, I don't give a shit about that electric bill. I don't want to be cold at all. So that would work out for me. I would definitely want to be on the sunny side of the street. So, I want to ask you too, like, now that you are expecting a child, you and your husband, how has your family come around? Now, I want to talk about your siblings, because your siblings, you said, were cool. Your mother, your father, how are they coming around knowing that they're going to have a grandchild from you?
My dad he was over the moon. Like, we were expecting him to cry. He didn't cry. He's a Cancer, but we were expecting him to cry, but he didn't cry.
Okay.
He probably cried and he just didn't,
He cried in the car.
Yeah, probably. He asks, I call him every day, or he calls me every day. If my husband's at work, I'll talk to him literally all day until my husband gets home from work, because he's like, "You're alone." I'm just, he's a truck driver. So he's just riding around all day. So he'll call me and we'll talk all day. And he wants all the updates. He wants to know everything that's going on. I send him the little bump date pictures. I take Polaroids every week, and he's like, "Wow, oh my goodness, you're growing. She's so big." Even my grandmother, his mother, is so excited. She's so old, but she's going to try to come out here when the baby's born. I'm like, "Grandma, please, we'll bring her to you when she's ready." Yeah. But even still, like, I don't feel like he sees me as any different. I'm just like, he gets my bump date pictures. I have top surgery, so I don't have a chest. And so he shows them all, shows off my bump date pictures, like, look, I'm having a granddaughter. And so that feels really good to me, to know that he still sees me as me. And my mom, she's just being weird. She's just being weird. So I try to talk to her. I try to give her the same updates that I give my dad. And she's just like, "Oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it." And so at first she was doing it under the guise of she doesn't want to know the sex of the baby, which is fine. That's fine. I knew she didn't want to know. But when I'm telling her like, "Oh, baby's measuring big this week," or she was moving a lot, or whatever the case may be, she's like, "Oh, okay, well, I gotta go. Talk to you later." And I'm like, why are you being weird?
Yeah.
And it's hard. It was very hard in the beginning. We had a scary first trimester. And it was hard not to have my mom, like, just to call her and be like, this happened. I'm terrified. What should I do? It was really hard. But my mother-in-law, my husband's mom, has been amazing, like amazing. She calls me every day too. Like, we'd be on the phone for 3 hours, like we are good girlfriends. And I'm like, please, I need to take a nap. But she has not always had the best relationship with my husband, but in the past few years, she has really come around and has been able to see him and see us and validate us in our relationship. And when she found out this is her first grandchild. So when she found out she was going to be a grandmother, she's just like, she did so much shopping. And she shipped us like 3 boxes of clothes. And she, like I said, she calls every day. She checks in on the baby and she's like, let me see your stomach. So I've had that support of a mom, and that's been really nice. And it's really nice, I think, and healing for my husband as well, to have that experience and to have me have that experience with her.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So hopefully you got a big enough place. It looked like great grandma coming, and mom and grandma is coming, and probably dad. The way you talking to the dad,
that is already coming.
Yeah. So
I think he already bought his ticket, honestly.
And you know what's so crazy? Not crazy, but sad. Your mama's just gonna miss out on that, and you kind of just what I was saying about parents grieving children. Like, sometimes we got to grieve our parents, right? Even when they're alive, of like this relationship that we want to have, but they just don't have the capacity to give us what we need. Right.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have to be at that place of maybe she'll come around, and if not, but then I don't know. Do you feel like if she don't, you rather her not be around because you don't want to subject your child to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I have 2 nieces. One that is my mother's biological grandchild, and my brother has another daughter. So this isn't her first grandchild, but she treats those girls like they are the queens. And that it's beautiful. I love it. I love that for them. I love that they're able to have that relationship with her that I was never able to have. But the way that she's trending right now, I'm not going to subject my daughter to question, why doesn't grandma spend time with me? Why doesn't grandma come here? Why doesn't grandma talk to me? Why doesn't grandma call me? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have her questioning her worth to her grandmother. We'll send our holiday cards, and that could be it. If you want to call, great, but I'm not going to force that relationship of, especially taking my child across the country to see you, and you are not even, putting your all into this experience of being with her. I'm not going to have her questioning that relationship or questioning that love ever. If anybody else ever showed signs of, oh, well, I'll put this first, I'll say this instead of this, or I'll skirt around your dad's identity. No, no.
Yeah.
You won't have that relationship with my child. And that's just that.
That's right. And that you take that boundary up a notch when you become a parent. You're like, you can fuck over me. You can say whatever you want to say to me. I can take that, but you're not about to do that to my child.
Absolutely not.
I love that. I love that. And so I want to ask you one last question because we're going to be getting out of here soon.
Mhm.
And we talked about this a little bit. I'm now, my son is 28. He's going to be 29. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter. My son was with me throughout the transition process, right? He was a part of my naming process, all of that, right? And so now I have a 2-year-old granddaughter who calls me Papa, who adores me, right? And obviously she doesn't know about my gender journey yet because she's 2, right? She just know that's my Papa. I love my Papa, and that's it, right? And so as you become a parent, when do you feel is the right time to, I mean, obviously you don't know, you can't predict it because you don't know your child yet because your child has to grow or whatever, right? And every child is different, but how do you feel you and your husband will have that conversation about, hey, daddy is this, right? What type of conversation and how do you feel like, have you all talked about that?
Yeah. Yeah, at length. I think so in the same way that we will share with her that she's donor conceived, it's going to be the same way to share with her that not only am I trans, but so is her papa. And I was the one to carry her, and I was able to carry her because I am trans. That's something that I want her to take pride in, and something that I want her to know and understand when she is able to know and understand, and to be able to ask those questions and trust us to relay the information to her, on this whole spectrum of being donor conceived, of being carried by a trans man, her dad. I want her to understand when she's able to understand. So as far as when we start those conversations, about being donor conceived, that's going to start early. But as she gets older, not even when she gets older, it's going to start early to know that I carried her because I'm proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want her to feel that sense of pride as well. And to understand that, like, everybody's different, everybody's bodies are different. And this is something that my body was able to do and bring you into the world. So I don't feel like I need to hide it, or like, I don't know. Not hiding it. Not to say that folks hide it, but it's just I want her to know and to eventually understand that this is how she came into the world.
I love that. And I'm saying that people hide it. I want to tell you a little story real quick. I won't go into the depths of it, but I was in a group, all trans men, not all black trans men, but it was just all trans men from all walks of life. And next to me was a trans guy whose child was turning 18. And that child did not know he was a trans man.
For 18 years?
That was my reaction. Yes. His
No
child.
way.
He said he had no plans on telling his child.
Why?
I don't know. That upset me. It really did. It shouldn't upset me because we just got through talking about
Right.
People have the right to do whatever they want with their bodies or whatever, right? But yeah, that upset me. That why? Yeah. So to know that the conversation is happening, that's how you make an impact on the world, right? That's how you build a generation of folks that know and recognize trans people that will fight for trans rights. Because no, my parents are trans identified, right? No, because I know trans people. I'm around trans people. No, because because you raised that way, right? And yeah. So that is so wild to me. That was so wild to me that you plan not to tell your child. Yeah, I'm like, why are you even in this support group? That was my thought. Because you obviously have some issues that you haven't worked through with your internalized transphobia that you won't even tell your own child.
Yeah. How do you hide that?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
That's
Maybe I'm just a very open person, but I don't know. That's confusing.
That's very confusing to me. I don't know how you hide that. I never hid anything from my son, and I don't think he would fucking lie to me. I don't care if I was in the bathroom. He would be like, "Dad, look at this. I'm taking a shower. Can I look when you know what I mean?" Like, there was no hiding. Why am I hiding this? This is my child. Why would I want to hide that from the one person that I love the most, right? Yeah. So Keo, this is a part of the show where I love to ask my guests a random question. I got a long list of questions. I'm not going to ask them all to you, but this list is forever growing. Some have been given to me from previous guests of the show. Some I just make up. And so I have 83 questions on this list. Pick a number between 1 and 83, and I'm going to ask you that question.
9. Let's do 9.
Number 9 says, what is something you enjoy doing in your free time?
There's a few things. And I try to do them all in one day, honestly, because that's just how my brain works. But either running, reading, or I crochet.
Oh, nice. Wait, and you try to do them all in one day?
Yeah, I do, because that's just like tomorrow I plan on going to the gym. But
Okay.
I also plan on getting halfway through the book that I started at the beginning of this week. And I have to finish the scarf for my grandmother for Christmas.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so do you crochet while you're reading?
No, actually, I have to pay attention.
Okay.
I have ADHD, so if I'm reading, I need to just read.
Okay. So the running part, you still running while pregnant?
I try to. I don't
Okay.
run like I'm a long distance runner.
Okay.
So like at least 3 miles. So I try to. I do a mile and then I'm gassed. I gotta go.
Wow, I didn't even know that, and so that's healthy to do.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Nice. The baby's gonna come out athletic. She's gonna come out athletic.
Yeah.
I love that.
She'll have a choice.
Yeah, I love that. And so, are you running your fastest pace, your fastest mile pace while you're doing the running, or are you just jogging? Just
jogging.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just started back not too long ago, maybe like beginning of the second trimester. So maybe like, I don't know when second trimester started. It's almost over at this point, but beginning of second trimester, I started walking, and then I would increase my pace with a walk. And then I started running again.
Beautiful. I love that. I used to be a runner. I want to say used to because injuries kind of.
Yeah. I get knocked out at least twice a year with an injury.
Yeah. Which is horrible. That's not nice, especially if you enjoy something. You can't even do it. I don't like that.
Yeah,
that's horrible. Keo, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I really appreciate you. Is there any last words you would like to say to folks that are listening?
Folks that are listening, I'll say to trans people, younger trans people, especially. I'm young, but to younger trans people, I would say, don't be afraid to be yourself in all of its forms. There are people who are going to love you for exactly that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Just like I always say, visibility equals possibility. I love that.